Aduh, akhirnya. Mantap dol. Bisa nih. Anjing salah gua tadi kayaknya. Pantesan kenapa ini? Bentar. Let's go.
Documentary series The Shape of Now, which tonight looks at the history of the knee-length sock and its importance during the Great Blackout of 1871. Not one to miss. At 9 p.m, sit back and relax with multiple award-winning movie The Freedom of Being Colin, taking us all the way up to 11:15, where, as usual,
prawn and mayonnaise.
You know seafood makes me go out and pastures.
Yeah, thought it might increase our viewing figures.
Every day, you offer me prawn
Quick as you
every
can,
day.
select screen 1.
Ada dibuat privat
You're
ya.
trying to kill me.
Enggak kok.
And yet you persist.
Coba buka deh. Ada gak?
at
Enggak, gua
9
privat
p.m,
loh.
sit back and relax with multiple
Nggak ada.
Sumpah.
Privat sama lu paling.
Privat
Lu
gimana
jadi-
sih? Cara privatnya tuh gimana ya?
Oh udah ada.
Bangsat.
Going 5, 4.
But now, it's time to join Jeremy Donaldson.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main stories tonight.
Okay,
Moving on
we're
up.
all good.
The election
Next
win
is
that
going to be the
Essex
throw to the
said
news
just couldn't
titles
happen.
on screen 2.
Hopeful or
There'll be a
hostile.
countdown, but I'll count you in as well. Just relax, mate. It's all gravy.
Buys honest Andy's totally independent and corners the flowered market. Top chat. Sports fans everywhere celebrate as popular footballer Johnny Hamsley wins Sports Personality
Ya
of the
anjing
Year.
mainnya gimana dah?
And a spoonful of sugar. Megan will be chatting with movie star Lawrence Blunderclatch about his new movie, The Medicated. And, of course, we'll be going live to Advance headquarters to hear what the leaders of this fledgling party have to say on their historic.
Right, button
That's all
2
coming up on
in
tonight.
3,
National
2,
News.
1, now. Lovely, mate. Next thing is the throwback to Jeremy with button 1 when that globe in the middle shrinks down and vanishes.
Apa nih game anjing?
Here it comes. Switch to screen 1, now. Lovely,
But
mate.
first, the votes are in and it's a decisive win for Advance. The landslide
Listen, mate, we
Ini
often
game
get
apa
a bit
anjing?
of interference around this time of night, so keep your eye on the machine on the bottom right. You can move that white dot up and down, avoiding the interference using the yellow knob or your
The critics
scroll
have accused
wheel.
him of a severe lack of actual policies and of being deliberately vague. The opposition parties have all conceded defeat to Advance's overwhelming mandate, but have yet to appear publicly.
Right, it's going well. All you've got to do now is play the advert at the end of the segment. Make sure you don't play it too early or we'll all get fired. Now the clock at the top is counting you down to the advert. When it reaches 0, press one of the 3 play ad buttons over there at the bottom right. I normally play the first one at the first break and so on, but you can play them in any order you want. I'll count you into it as well, but keep your eye on the clock.
We'll be going live to Advance HQ to hear the co-leaders' acceptance speech.
And 3,
That's all coming
2,
up.
1, advert.
1 minute back, everybody.
Jeremy, I need you to fill after the ads.
What? Why?
Wanker Snatch is running late.
Oh,
I thought I'd ask him about the election.
personally, I wouldn't try to confuse him with any big words.
That's the same policy we use with you.
I thought that was our little secret.
It's all right, he doesn't remember anything I tell him.
I'm deeply uncomfortable with your burgeoning friendship.
Love you too.
Yeah.
Wicked. We made it to the first ad break. You're doing great, mate. But this is where it starts getting a bit trickier. This next sequence is what we call a multicam sequence because you're going to be cutting between multiple cameras to keep things interesting. A lot of it's down to personal taste, but here's 3 good rules of thumb. 1. Try and keep the shot on whoever is doing the talking. 2. Don't stay on the same shot for too long, 10 seconds at the most. So if you're on the person who's talking, try and throw in the odd reaction shot or pull out to the wide shot for a bit just to keep it interesting. 3. Don't stay on reaction shots for too long. A couple of seconds is usually enough. Then the audience want to see who's doing the talking, yeah? Stick to these rules and you'll be fine. It's not as complicated as it sounds. You've seen programmes on television, haven't you? Make it look like those. Might as well get screen 1 selected now. No need to wait for the broadcast to start. Try and stay ahead, mate.
We're coming back from the break. quiet in the studio.
Thank you so much.
10 seconds, everybody. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to the National Nightly News. Later we'll be hearing from shock election winners Advance. But first
Get
our
ready to
very
go to
own
Megan
cultural
on
reporter,
screen 4.
Megan Wolf is here with a star of both stage and screen. Megan?
Thank you, Jeremy.
Anjing, salah gua.
Wolf, culture correspondent. And today I have a guest who starred in everything from Shakespeare
Right,
to
go
the
to
Shop
Blunderclatch
films.
on screen 3 when she says his
Joined
name.
today by none other than Lawrence Blunderclatch. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, my dear, I do hope you believe me when I tell you that being with you here today is among
Switch to
the
2 for the wide now.
May I say, having you here with us is among ours.
Right, now just try and
So
stay
you've
on
just
whoever's
finished filming
talking.
your latest movie, which is called The Medicated.
The medicated, yes.
Wow, what was that like?
Well, as I said to Peter at the Wrap, that's Peter Jensen, the director. Do you know him? He's a wonderful chap. He really is.
Apa?
I've worked with him
Give
on
us a look at
several
Megan's
movies,
reaction.
fairly successful. I said
Lovely,
to
now
Peter,
back to Thunder,
what a
twat.
wild ride this has been. And you know what, Megan? I really meant that.
Wow, that is fantastic. And am I right in saying that the character you play in this movie is quite an academic one?
Absolutely right. A scientist.
Was that a challenge at all?
What exactly are you implying? But seriously, yes, you're right. It
Anjing,
was a
sama
complete
sih.
departure from my last starring role when I played Sergeant Brock Rockman in Bullet Man. You'll remember that that was the true story of one soldier's fight for a love that surpasses all others. A love, of course, for freedom. I think it's grossed over $1 billion, but honestly, who's counting?
Been on that shot a bit long.
So you scooped 2 Best Actor awards, if I remember correctly.
It's so sweet of you to mention it, but I really am not in it
Get
for
back
the
to who's
awards.
talking.
Although those 3 little statues do take pride of place on my mantelpiece.
With all the others, I'm sure.
Get on the speaker, mate.
If you're not doing it for the awards, what is it then that drives you?
That is a beautiful question, Megan, and not easy to answer. Like you, I'm afraid. Cut me, and I will bleed. And often, that's how it feels, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Bleeding, giving, suffering for one's audience. I suppose in the end, I do it for the difference it makes. I do it for the people that I inspire, the little people. But most of all, I think I do it for the positive change that I can bring about in the world.
And today, of course, we're in for some real change, it looks like, in the coming few months. What do you make of this historic election result?
Oh, well. Well, now you're asking. Historic election result. Indeed. Historic is the word. Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Very difficult. But
Remember the 10-second
I've always been
rule.
Iya, sabar
clear that
anjing.
when it comes to politics,
Berisik banget deh.
one should always strive to not fuck things up.
Shit, he swore. Oh, well, don't worry, he won't do it again.
Sorry, I said fuck.
Shit, he did it again. Okay, don't panic. I'll explain how to deal with swearing at the
From
break.
The Medicated, which opens
Anjing.
Right, they've swapped the shot of Jeremy on screen 1 for a VT of the movie clip. You'll get a countdown on the screen, but I'll just let Megan cue you in.
My character, Dr. Lance Hemlock, is faced with a decision that could affect humanity's very survival.
exciting stuff. Let's take a look.
And
Watch out for that interference, mate.
Doctor,
I don't understand it.
God, looks like Blunderclatch is losing it in the studio. I'd love to hear what he's saying, but don't switch to it now. You can go to the archive when the broadcast's done. We keep everything.
don't know that.
no, Lance, we mustn't. Think of Carol.
It's Dr. Lance to you, Miss Flanagan.
Did it for you, baby. All for you.
Dr. Hemlock.
I'm gonna change the world, you remember? When I listened to you.
Dr. Hemlock.
You told me, but I didn't listen.
Doctor.
I'm drowning, Lance, she said.
You need to see this.
No, it's all too late.
Look at this!
Gue bego banget anjing main game ngehe. Susah banget.
The sterility. This formula. This is the key.
Stop it.
Yes.
At the end of the clip, you'll want to play another ad. Remember to use the clock at the top to count you in.
If we should.
Right, I guess I better explain how to deal with bleeping out swear words. As you've probably noticed, the broadcast screen, here, is about 2 seconds behind the master screen, here. When someone says a naughty word, the bleep button lights up, like this. 2 seconds later, you'll hear that swear word going out on the broadcast, and you need to hold down the bleep button, or the spacebar on your keyboard, for as long as the swear word lasts. It can take a bit of practice getting used to hearing two things at once. Just stay calm and you'll get it. And if you can't tell when to bleep, just above the button, you'll literally be able to see the sound scrolling by. All you got to do is hold it down while the red bit is over the red line. Simple. Of course, if you do it by eye, you'll have to take your eye off the screens. That's why real professionals do it by ear. Most people like to have the volume of the broadcast screen a little bit below the master
Banget
screen.
anjing,
Let's set
anjing.
it now.
Tuh coba ya.
As you turn it up, you'll hear the advert getting louder. Good. You're set to start censoring. Like I say, it takes a little practice, but I'll try and help you through it, and soon we'll have you bleeping like a pro. Remember, button lights up, count 1, 2, and hold it down.
85 minutes from the coast, and with more than 2 areas of outstanding natural interest. Isn't it time your family...
Remember to select screen 1 now that you've got the feed. Don't wait for the broadcast to go live. That's too late. You can use the number buttons on your
And a
keyboard,
lawyer and a
1 to
TV
4.
personality running the country. Seriously?
We've had worse. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back. And I'm told we can now go live to Advance Headquarters, where the two leaders, Peter Clement and Julia Salisbury, are about to make their acceptance address.
Cut to the outside broadcast.
Go for it,
He's
Pat.
pissed. Get ready to bleep.
Well, and, well, where do I start? What a day.
They said we couldn't do it.
They certainly did.
They used every dirty, low-down, lying southern bastard trick they had against us. But you, the people, you saw right through their shite.
I'm sorry about the language there.
Sorry about that. I've had a couple of celebratory pints. Makes me coarser than a granny's fanny.
Memorably put.
Aduh.
Hold it down for the
But to be
whole
honest,
word.
who can blame Peter for celebrating? Throughout the campaign, you've heard us say that Advance are
Audience is
not
getting
a political
bored, mate.
party. A
Sabar.
party's what you have
Pusing
when
gua.
things are going well. When the country is suffering, you don't need a party. You need a team. A team that can change things. But today is day one of a new future. A better, fairer future. So perhaps we should all be celebrating.
Except for the rich. For them, the party's over. They shouldn't be celebrating. They should be putting their shitting pants on and opening their dusty checkbooks.
Again, colourfully put, but not inaccurate. Before we came out here to address the nation, we used our executive powers to pass the Assets and Wealth Act. Working with the tax office, we have produced a definitive list of every person in the country with wealth into the millions.
You know the sort of probably you rather you don't. Because the likes of you and me are not welcome in their gated communities.
Tomorrow, we will be introducing a sweeping reform of the tax system in this country. No more hiding wealth offshore, no more trust funds or creative accounting. A simpler, fairer, unavoidable set of tax laws.
So, all you bastard public school snobs have got nowhere to hide. And earlier today, we revoked your passports. You want them back? You want to leave like you threatened before the election? That's fine. But first, you're going to pay up. You're going to pay back.
Advance are going to turn this country from a nation of warring individuals into a team. to properly fund health and education, to raise the living standards of us all.
The pundits said we'd have to raise billions, but you'll see when we've reclaimed what's ours, that's absolute ferret shite. So to you posh twats,
the people who pay you a pittance to serve them drinks in their private clubs, the people whose children you raise,
so they've got time to get even fucking richer.
Advance have this to say to you.
It ends today.
We are coming for your sports cars and your mansions and your vineyards.
It ends today.
We will put the wealth of this country back where it should have always been, in the hands of the people who created it.
It ends today.
Yes, it ends today. And tomorrow we'll start making it fair again, just like we promised we would.
And until then, ladies and gents, I suggest we all get pissed.
I can't argue with that. Thank you for your time.
Well, an interesting acceptance speech there from the leaders of Advance. And our apologies for the fruity language. Hopefully we got that bleeped out for you in time. If not, someone's going to be in trouble. So, as the country braces itself for new government, that's all from us this evening at the National Nightly News. We'll be back tomorrow with full coverage of the first day under Advance. I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Have a peaceful night.
Right, looks like you've got it now. Thanks for all the help, mate. I've got to go. Ferry's about to leave. Probably won't be coming back. Job's yours, mate. Good luck.
We're crazy deal. We don't care if you've been naughty or nice. We got green sofas, red sofas, brown cushions, pink cushions. You've got a great sofa.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
Not coming for a drink?
No, got a date.
Try not to get murdered.
A purple. Neil's deals are unreal.
Ya anjing C semua bangsat. CE anjing. Aduh.
Alright, mate, I've left you a voicemail. I thought you'd end up here. Most people come into the archive room when they're done with the broadcast. That way you can see what you did.
Susah banget nih game coy.
As you can see, there's 3 sections to the archive. Broadcasts, that's what you've put out. Rushes, which is all the stuff that was on all the screens. And adverts, which is any advert that you've chosen to show. So let's have a look at the broadcasts. Okay, on the left you can see all the broadcasts that you've done. You can also get to hear from the main menu if you don't actually want to do a broadcast, you just want to see some of your past work. Select any of those and click load tape. Why not watch what you just did? When you're done, hit back.
Well, in a few moments we'll be going live to tonight's National Nightly News. But before that, let's take a look at what's coming up later on tonight on Channel 1. At 7 o'clock, it's the semi-final of the quotation game, and it's a nail-biting quiz tonight as a team of nuclear physicists take on 4 old ladies from East Grinching. That's followed at 8 p.m. by award-winning documentary series The Shape of Now, which tonight looks at the history of the knee-length sock and its importance during the Great Blackouts of 1871. Not one to miss. At 9 p.m, sit back and relax with multiple award-winning movie The Freedom of Being Colin, taking us all the way up to 11:15, where, as usual, Dr. Adrian Atkinson Blimey will be grilling his guests in Incisors, and tonight sees a return for leading economist Katie Brightman. Finally, at midnight, it's the National Weather Report, before we say good night until tomorrow. But now, it's time to join Jeremy Donaldson for the National Nightly News.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main stories tonight. Moving on up, the election win that experts said just couldn't happen. Hopeful or hostile? Controversy as global mega-corporation Remington Swist buys Honest Andy's Totally Independent and corners the flowered market. Top chat. Sports fans everywhere celebrate as popular footballer Johnny Hamsleeves wins Sports Personality of the Year. And a spoonful of sugar. Megan will be chatting with movie star Lawrence Blunderclatch about his new movie, The Medicated. And, of course, we'll be going live to Advance headquarters to hear what the leaders of the Special Party have to say on their historic victory. That's all coming up on tonight's National Nightly News.
Dia jelek banget anjing. Back.
Click on rushes and let's have a look at those. exactly the same as the 4 screens that feed you the studio signal when you're doing the actual news. Of course, the difference here is you can mute any screen you like or any combination of screens, and you can have a listen to what was going on behind the scenes. Just select any segment, that's any bit between ad breaks over on the left, and hit play. When you're done checking out the backstage secrets, hit back.
Prawn and mayonnaise?
You know seafood makes me come out in pustules.
Yeah, I thought it might increase our viewing figures.
Every day. You offer me prawns every day.
10 seconds, everybody. That's how I show love.
You're trying to kill me.
And yet you...
These aren't my cards. Please tell me these aren't my cards.
Apparently he's been drinking since lunchtime.
Christ, he's a liability in the best of times.
I know. God help.
I mean, a lawyer and a TV personality running the country. Seriously?
We've had worse. 5, 4, 3...
Welcome back. And I'm told we can now go live to Advance Headquarters, where the 2 leaders, Peter Clement and Julia Salisbury, are about to make their acceptance address.
Shall I start?
Go for it, Pet.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and, well, where do I start? What a day!
Welcome to Crazy Neil's Crazy.
Udah continue ngehe, nggak ngerti gua anjing. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Unexpected from How do you arrive home when was Okay. Nice. You suppose semi-stone introduced. Anjingnya panda. Bullshit banget yang pertama maksud. In your spare time you 5mm. It's late, Sam and the kids have not gone to bed. You're just dry up your favorite coffee cup, worn out. So no problem, what's going on? That kind of stuff, I said, it's bullshit. Ya anjing apa nih? Game ini bukan sih? Aduh gimana ini?
Let's get set up and get on with it, eh? So I can get back to my guests. First of all, let's get the power on. You need to get at least the bottom 4 plugs on.
Anjing apa ini? Oh, ini kali. Set.
Right, let's load up the adverts. You might want to have a bit of a think about it. Your decisions have consequences, don't they?
Should we play? Is this toy safe? Nah, salah tadi ya. Apa nih? Dan skin krimangnya. Oke lah. Sep. Mantap.
Right, you can see they finally got the old headline system up and working again, and the vision mixer's already in headline mode because headlines always come at the start. It's really simple, mate. These 2 buttons at the bottom of the vision mixer, you can see they now have A and B on them, and they're to help you pick image A on the left bottom screen here, or image B on the right bottom screen here. It's really simple. This little clock here will count down the number of seconds you have to make your decision. Provided you make a decision in that time, you're fine. And you can change your mind as much as you want until the clock reaches 0. But if you don't make any decision, you'll be fired before you even get to make another choice. I just want to say one more thing, mate. The pictures you choose to show of these people, well, that's how the public is going to perceive them, and that's going to affect their lives. So like with the adverts, choose carefully.
No,
and we're off. Good luck, mate. If I get time, I'll call you back in the next break. Yeah, I'm coming, darling.
One of those. My friend Janet's
says there's
Ini buat apa ya?
Is this Janet who
Gua
thinks
lupa lagi.
dogs have their own secret language?
Yeah, the one that mistrusts the moon.
10 seconds, everybody.
Not the best source of consumer advice, then.
Don't blame me when it explodes. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Time to go over to Jeremy Donaldson.
1, go.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main headlines tonight. Destination unknown. At the end of Advance's first full week in office, we ask exactly who's leading this charge. Tonight, I'll be discussing what the new future might hold with a leading economist and radical
Anjing. Apa sih anjing?
Don't make any decision, you'll be fired before you even get to make another choice. I just want to say one more thing, mate. The pictures you choose to show of these people, well, that's how the public is going to perceive them, and that's going to affect their lives. So, like with the adverts, choose carefully.
No,
And we're off. Good luck, mate. If I get time, I'll call you back in the next break. Yeah, I'm coming, darling.
Get one of those. My friend Janet says theirs gets really hot.
Is this Janet who thinks dogs have their own secret language?
Yeah, the one that mistrusts the moon.
10 seconds, everybody.
Not the best source of consumer advice, then.
Don't blame me when it explodes. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Time to go
2,
over to Jeremy
1.
Donaldson for tonight's.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main headlines tonight. Destination
Lupa anjing
unknown.
macam yang dua ini
At the
bangsat.
end of Advance's first full week in office, we ask exactly who's leading this charge. Tonight, I'll be discussing what the new future might hold with a leading economist and radical free thinker. With the Assets and Wealth Act on the brink of raising living standards for the vast majority of the country, I'll be asking my guests if we're on the way to a new future. Out with the old, Remington's Fist have appointed Sophia Remington as their new CEO. The following photo, taken from our archive, gives us a sense of this influential young firebrand who, at the tender age of
Anjing
22, becomes the youngest female CEO in history. Sophia Remington has always impressed. She was top of her class at university and graduated with the highest honours, immediately being asked back to lecture. The markets have responded favourably to Sophia's appointment, with stocks rising 30 points in light of the announcement. In her first press conference this afternoon, Sophia announced a children's toy named Mr. Snugglehearts. Sophia promises it'll be all the rage this Christmas, but concerns have been raised about the product's safety. Making a splash. Intrepid scientist Dr. David Wong, a marine biologist,
Gini kali ya, yang gini lucu nih, yang gini.
have today set off to explore
Ini
Dante's
lucu
taint.
tuh.
The recently discovered cave system was previously thought unreachable, but thanks to a new breakthrough in underwater flower technology, the pair hope to successfully reach the
Ini lucu
imposing
nih,
central
guys.
cavern
Ya
and the
deh, ini deh.
undiscovered plant species it contains. This is, of course, only the latest in a series of successful expeditions for this unlikely pairing. In a joint statement about the dangers their team might face, the pair stated, "We will face the plentiful challenges together like we always have." Playing the field, rumours abound as sporting legend Johnny Hamsleeves is snapped leaving
Yang mana nih, guys?
one of the capital's hottest clubs. The footballer was caught while out celebrating being named Sports Personality of the Year last week, as reported by this very programme. Johnny is seen here with socialite and performance artiste Tiffany Lamore, whose recent show, Snatched Inside My Snatch, has kept her firmly in the public eye. Could romance be on the cards for these two budding A-listers? And Reaver's bodily charm. With Advance promising a radical new position on crime, how afraid should we actually be? I'll be going live around the country to talk with people who've seen the
Sabar,
criminal
sabar.
justice
Nih,
system
nih, nih,
from
nih.
every perspective.
Jeng.
With more and more people saying they're scared to walk the streets alone at night, could this be exactly the right time for Advance's new approach? All that and mega more for the group of young actors already experiencing the positive side of the new Assets and Wealth Act firsthand. They'll be talking and performing later. That's all coming up on tonight's National Nightly News.
Anjing. Salah Set. 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 Set.
government's swift enactment of the Assets and Wealth Act, we're talking about Advance's first week in office and what the new future holds. Joining me are Katie Brightman, a leading economist, and Alan James, author of Alan James is Right, The Free Man's Guide to Waking Up. Alan, the government certainly haven't dragged their heels on delivering some of the legislation they promised. But what does the Wealth Act mean for us?
Nothing, Jeremy. We're still vassal slaves, we're just in prettier cages.
A confident dismissal there. Katie Brightman, do you agree?
I'm afraid I don't, no. I think that Advance have realised that the current economic system of unlimited, unending growth is untenable, so they're changing things up.
There I agree with you. They're moving to the next steps in the grand plan.
Grand plan, Alan?
It's all in my book. Alan James is right, Jeremy. We're to become the great herd. Ignorant, sterile, and short-lived. That's what they want.
Or perhaps Advance have just realised that if we carry on the way we are, we will destroy ourselves and this planet in a mad orgy of consumption, if you'll excuse the colourful metaphor.
Yes, orgy is the right word. Only it'll be the overlords having an orgy on our poor broken backs. It's all in my book. Alan James is...
Shamelessly self-promoting? Katie, how do you think the rest of the world will respond to this new approach?
I think they're watching carefully. Advance are the most disruptive threat that the world powers have faced since the last Great War.
Yes, Katie's right. War is inevitable.
Thank you, but that isn't
And
what
this
I-
will not be a war like we've ever seen before. We're talking millions of deaths. We're talking high-tech weapons that can level entire cities. We're talking...
Out of the wrong orifices?
Mock me all you like, Jeremy, but when they murder your parents and they poison your food and they take you away to their camps for hypno-brainwashing, we'll be laughing then.
That might be a great way to sell books, Alan, but you know full well that isn't going to happen in a democracy.
Democracy is dead.
Yes, Advance are radical, and change is always frightening, but the truth is that the Wealth and Assets Act has made more than 90% of the population wealthier and is on target to produce a permanent end to poverty.
Bollocks! What this young lady doesn't understand, Jeremy, is that these are the same people. Maybe they've rebranded, but it's all a little circus act to keep us from seeing the tyrant behind the curtain.
That's where you're wrong, Alan. For a start, they've mobilised the youth vote like we've never seen
Aduh,
before.
mobilised, I call it grooming. The grooming of an entire generation to walk happily into eternal bondage. They're like psychic paedophiles.
But based on the facts, Katie, what are your predictions?
The Assets and Wealth Act is only the first step. Advance now have a historic budgetary surplus, and as well as properly funding our public services, they're already funneling unprecedented amounts into scientific research in the arts.
Or, as I call them in my book, Frankenscience and opiates. Like opiates, see?
Can we get back to the issue at hand, please, Alan?
This is the issue. It's all coming from the water, the chemicals, they're pumping it full of belief juice.
Don't get me wrong, I want to see these changes, but only if they're sustainable. If Advance lose their power after spending half of our GDP on dismantling infrastructure, that could be catastrophic.
The catastrophe is that they're succeeding. They've got us sat here talking about their puppet show.
All right, we're running out of time. Quickly, Alan, what does the future look like to you?
A bleak space where we've all been figuratively sodomized into submission.
No, of course. Katie?
We might be on the eve of a brave new world. God knows we need some change, but we need to be cautious. Let's walk forwards with our eyes open.
Two very different visions of the future there. Alan James, Katie Brightman, thank you for joining me. When we come back, I'll be investigating law and order before Megan meets some beneficiaries of the Assets and Wealth Act. That's all coming up tonight on the National Nightly News.
1 minute back.
You know, I think they might do some good.
I hope so too.
Gimana caranya, anjing? Apa nih? Apa nih? Apa ini, Pak?
Alan, I can explain
Anjing!
it to you, but unfortunately, I can't understand.
Apa sih itu? Anjing. Itu cara matinya gimana? Ih. Anjing banget dah. Ih, ngulang lagi bangsat. Ngentot.
I just want to say one more thing, mate.
Gue lupa pencet
Pictures you choose to
iklan
show these
anjing.
people, well, that's how the public is going to perceive them, and that's going to affect their lives. So, like with the adverts, choose carefully.
No,
And we're off. Good luck, mate.
Anjing, anjing.
Back in the next break. Yeah, I'm coming, darling.
Get one of those. My friend
Janet says theirs gets really hot.
Is this Janet who thinks dogs have their own secret language?
Yeah, the one that mistrusts the moon. 10 seconds, everybody!
Not the best source of consumer advice, then?
Don't blame me when it explodes. Going in 5, 4, 3.
It's time to go over to Jeremy Donaldson for tonight's National Live.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main headlines tonight. Destination unknown. At the end of Advance's first full week in office, we ask exactly who's leading this charge. Tonight, I'll be discussing what the new
Jing,
future
ulang
might
lagi,
hold
guys,
with
bangsat.
a leading economist and radical free thinker. With the Assets and Wealth Act on the brink of raising living standards for the vast majority of the country, I'll be asking my guests if we're on the way to a new future. Out with the old, Remington's Fist have appointed Sophia Remington as their new CEO. The following photo, taken from our archive, gives us a sense of this influential young firebrand who, at the tender age of 23, becomes the youngest female CEO in history. Sophia Remington has always impressed. She was top of her class at university and graduated with the highest honours, immediately being asked back to lecture. The markets have responded favourably to Sophia's appointment, with stocks rising 30 points in light of the announcement. In her first press conference this afternoon, Sophia announced a children's toy named Mr. Snugglehearts. Sophia promises it'll be all the rage this Christmas, but concerns have been raised about the product's safety. Making a splash. Intrepid scientist Dr. David Wong and marine biologist Ingrid Swarsborg and Horgensford
Yang mana nih?
have today set off to explore Dante's taint.
3 atau 4?
The recently discovered cave system was previously thought unreachable.
3 kali ya.
But thanks to a new breakthrough in underwater flower technology,
Tiga.
the pair hope to successfully reach the imposing central cavern and the undiscovered plant species it contains. This is, of course, only the latest in a series of successful expeditions for this unlikely pairing. In a joint statement about the dangers their team might face, the pair stated, "We will face the plentiful challenges together like we always have." Playing the field, rumours abound as sporting legend Johnny Hamsleeves is snapped leaving Bush, one of the capital's hottest clubs. The footballer was caught while out celebrating being named Sports Personality of the Year last week, as reported by this very programme. Johnny is seen here with socialite and performance artiste Tiffany Lamore, whose recent show, Snatched Inside My Snatch, has kept her firmly in the public eye. Could romance be on the cards for these two budding A-listers? And grievous bodily charm. With Advance promising a radical new position on crime, how afraid should we actually be? I'll be going live around the country to talk with people who've seen the criminal justice system from every perspective. With more and more powers passing to the police, and less oversight, are we using an Advance-shaped sledgehammer to crack a nut? All that and Megan Wolf with a group of young actors already experiencing the positive side of the new Assets and Wealth Act firsthand. They'll be talking and performing later. That's all coming up on tonight's National Nightly News. In the wake of the government's swift enactment of the Assets and Wealth Act, we're talking about Advance's first week in office and what the new future holds. Joining me are Katie Brightman, a leading economist, and Alan James, author of Alan James is Right, The Free Man's Guide to Waking Up. Alan, the government certainly haven't dragged their heels on delivering some of the legislation they promised. But what does the Wealth Act mean for us?
Nothing, Jeremy. We're still vassal slaves, we're just in prettier cages.
A confident dismissal there. Katie Brightman, do you agree?
I'm afraid I don't, no. I think that Advance have realised that the current economic system of unlimited, unending growth is untenable, so they're changing things up.
There I agree with you. Moving to the next steps in the grand plan.
Grand plan, Alan?
It's all in my book. Alan James is right, Jeremy. We're to become the great herd, ignorant, sterile, and short-lived. That's what they want.
Or perhaps Advance have just realised that if we carry on the way we are, we will destroy ourselves and this planet in a mad orgy of consumption, if you'll excuse the colourful metaphor.
Yes, orgy is the right word. Only it'll be the overlords having an orgy on our poor broken backs. It's all in my book. Alan James is...
Shamelessly self-promoting? Katie, how do you think the rest of the world will respond to this new approach?
I think they're watching carefully. Advance are the most disruptive threat that the world powers have faced since the last Great War.
Yes, Katie's right. War is inevitable.
Thank you, but that isn't
And
what
this
I-
will not be a war like we've ever seen before. We're talking millions of deaths. We're talking high-tech weapons that can level entire cities. We're talking...
Out of the wrong orifices?
Mock me all you like, Jeremy, but when they murder your parents and they poison your food and they take you away to their camps for hypno-brainwashing, we'll be laughing then.
That might be a great way to sell books, Alan, but you know full well that isn't going to happen in a democracy.
Democracy is dead.
Yes, Advance are radical, and change is always frightening, but the truth is that the Wealth and Assets Act has made more than 90% of the population wealthier and is on target to produce a permanent end to poverty.
Bollocks! What this young lady doesn't understand, Jeremy, is that these are the same people. Maybe they've rebranded, but it's all a little circus act to keep us from seeing the tyrant behind the curtain.
That's where you're wrong, Alan. For a start, they've mobilised the youth vote like we've never seen before.
You say mobilise, I call it grooming. The grooming of an entire generation to walk happily into eternal bondage. They're like psychic paedophiles.
But based on the facts, Katie, what are your predictions?
The Assets and Wealth Act is only the first step. Advance now have a historic budgetary surplus, and as well as properly funding our public services, they're already funneling unprecedented amounts into scientific research and the arts.
Or, as I call them in my book, Frankenscience and opiates. Like opiates, see?
Can we get back to the issue at hand, please, Alan?
This is the issue. It's all coming from the water, the chemicals, they're pumping it full of belief juice.
Don't get me wrong, I want to see these changes, but only if they're sustainable. If Advance lose their power after spending half of our GDP on dismantling infrastructure, that could be catastrophic.
The catastrophe is that they're succeeding. They've got us sat here talking about their puppet show.
All right, we're running out of time. Quickly, Alan, what does the future look like to you?
A bleak space where we've all been figuratively sodomized into submission.
Of course. Katie?
We might be on the eve of a brave new world. God knows we need some change, but we need to be cautious. Let's walk forwards with our eyes open.
Two very different visions of the future there. Alan James, Katie Brightman, thank you for joining me. When we come back, I'll be investigating law and order before Megan meets some beneficiaries of the Assets and Wealth Act. That's all coming up tonight on the National Nightly News.
1 minute back.
You know, I think they might do some good.
I hope so too, Jeremy.
How's it going actually? Fuck it, I don't care, I hate the fucking news. Oh, bloody hell, I love this tune though. Alright mate, see you later, bye!
I don't know what she meant by that.
From your claws to give you the crisp, brittle skin you've come to expect. New Judico
jago kau bangsat.
appearance of the strength of your face's
Segmen
skin.
grade B, coy.
41% of women
Lah.
in surveys said they loved their visible playing
She's good, you know she is.
Said I got a word in, that's all I can do.
10 seconds, everybody. He's got a big bag of water.
If that sticks, I'll just...
5, 4, 3.
Welcome back. In our second segment, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the state of law and order in our country. Advance have already tasked what they are calling a solutions team. Problem to the top of the list. Tonight, we go behind the headlines to meet the people who live with the criminal justice system every day of their lives. First up, we have Gregory Judge, a lawyer who sees the problems close up on the front. Can you hear me, Gregory?
Yes, I've got you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
What's it like on the front line of the hard face of the cold hand of justice?
Well, as you can imagine, Jeremy, we are massively understaffed in this country. We're working every hour we can just to try and cope with the caseloads on our desks.
Which must affect the quality of support you can offer.
Well, we can barely keep up with demand, Jeremy. There just simply isn't enough being done at a systemic level to relieve the problem.
Greg?
We need more support from ministers. We need change at a structural level.
I'm leaving, Greg.
Not a good time, darling.
It never is it? I'll be at my mother's.
Just hang on. No, the problem isn't a local one, Jeremy. It's nationwide. Just give me 5 minutes.
Have you mentioned your affairs?
No. Well, the affairs of the Justice Department that we should be concerned about.
Hello, Mr. Donaldson.
Hello, Mrs. Judge.
We need legislation to relieve the pressure on our public
Sorry
servants.
to interrupt the news, Mr. Donaldson. Can I have a moment to tell my husband I'm leaving him?
Yes, I totally understand. Quite the picture of a burdened legal sector there. Gregory Judge, thank you for joining us. Next, I'm joined by Police Chief Constable Bob Peel, a man with a very different perspective on our nation's crime. Do you think there's a problem with the system, Bob?
I'm sure we all do, Jeremy. I'm sure we all long for a return to the days when you could safely walk the streets of your community at night, looking in through windows and generally enjoying your neighbours without the risk of being terrorised by some thug with a knife. Or kosh.
So you feel the streets simply aren't safe anymore? Where have we gone wrong, Bob?
Well, that's not a simple question, Jeremy, but I think it all comes down to moral decay. We've diluted our culture and lost touch with what it means to be a citizen of this once great country. Also, as the vicar noted in Sunday's sermon, we probably shouldn't have banned hanging.
And to what do you attribute this moral decay?
Foreigners, gays and gypsies mainly. It's all in the Bible. Look, Leviticus clearly states that... Bugger, hang on a moment. Jeremy, your bloody gimps escaped. Delia, could you give me a little help, please, dear? As I was saying, Jesus didn't like immigrants much, did he?
And just to be clear, you think it's the immigrants who are responsible for the moral decay?
Absolutely, Jeremy. Back in your box, Clive. Back in your box. Delia, I really could use a little help with this.
I'm sorry, darling. I was spaying the badgers.
Yes, I'm talking to Jeremy Donaldson. Clive, could you put him back in his box?
Clive, you know it's Wednesday. You'll give it space.
And whose responsibility is it to make a change, Bob?
Well, it is certainly not the responsibility of the decent, good, white people of this... Oh, hold on just a moment.
Clive, this is not
Clive, I am not having this again. As I was saying, Jeremy, moral decay. Crime is the responsibility of the criminal, no one else. Look, everyone has a sob story, but we don't all end up as barbarians, do we? Look, when our daughter Alice comes home with an A-, does she go on a killing spree? No, she takes 3 of her pills and hides under the stairs like a normal child.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Peel there, really locking down the police's position on morality fronts. And finally tonight, hopefully uninterrupted, it's time to get to the heart of the matter. Tony Dawson has recently been released from prison after serving 3 years for aggravated assault, burglary and menacing assault. He's agreed to talk to us today, which is also, I believe, his birthday. Many happy returns, Tony. Many happy returns.
Cheers, Jez. Call me Titwank Tony. Everybody else does.
No, I'm not going to be doing that. Can you tell us what it's like in prison, Tony?
Titwank Tony. Titwank Tony. Prison's a mixed bag. Structure's quite nice, but it's a constant battle against institutionalisation, as you can imagine. And obviously, titwanks are quite hard to come by.
I'm picking up that you're not alone there, Tony.
Titwank Tony. Yeah, sorry, my friends are throwing me a surprise party. Good bunch of lads.
Okay, well, we're trying to let you get back to that party as soon as possible. First, let me ask you this. Do you feel that your time spent in prison helped to rehabilitate you in any way, Tony?
Titwank Tony. I don't think it's as easy as that, Jez. I think asking that is an oversimplification.
It sounds like it's getting quite busy there, Tony, but let's try and soldier on. Since leaving custody, have you been able to find a new job?
Yeah, all the boys are here. Big Chris, Little Chris, and Vampire Chris.
This one's, yeah.
One sec, love. Titwank Tony's on the news. Rehabilitation's difficult with the current system, Jez. It's just not set up for it, you know? It's inherently unjust.
So, do you feel tempted to... I'm sorry, who's this now?
You are joking. Chrissy Freebollocks has only got Mr. Fancy, oh. What now, fellas? I'm on the news.
Anjing ini.
It seems like we've caught you at a bad time.
I can't really hear you, mate. It's getting a bit busy here.
Yes, we seem to be losing the signal here, Tony.
Fucking way, Las Bolitas!
Well, we're just trying to get that signal back. I think we... Yes? Tony? Tony, I mean, we're literally away for 2 seconds. How has this happened, Tony? Can you hear me? Oh, that's a good the viewer at home about to glean a broader understanding of the serious and complex issues around law and order. After the break, Megan will be live with some plucky young thespians. Don't go away. We'll be back after these messages.
1 minute back, everybody.
Anjing susah banget nih game, pusing kepala gua.
I ain't got long and I'm quite drunk. It's been a great night. In this next section, there's a bit of music. If you edit in time with the music, you can see the result on the vision mixer, and the public will love that. Don't worry if you don't know, you won't get punished for it or nothing. Just try and stay in the groove. Also, one last tip: when the music starts, turn down the broadcast volume. Right, enjoy the music bit. God, I love music. God, I'm so pissed. I think I might go and throw up in a bit.
That's right, little one. You don't want to be left out.
Looks right, I've got this. Come on, it's welcome back. How hard can it be?
This is on you. 10 seconds, everybody. We're going to open on Megan. Camera 2. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome's Black. I'm Megan Wolfe, and on tonight's Culture Spot, I'll be chatting with one of the first beneficiaries of the Assets and Wealth Act, a team of inspiring young people from Scritchford Sixth College, who today received a grant from Advance to take their play, Hey, Friendship, on a tour of local secondary schools. Welcome to you all. Well, let's start with you two, Harriet and Charlotte Winstanley-Hamilton. Girls, you must be thrilled.
We are, Megan. We're overwhelmed, to be honest.
And I believe you two are sisters, is that right?
Yes, Charlotte's my oldest. I'm the older, more popular one. I'm joking.
Harriet and Trey were really the ones who came up with the whole idea.
So, Harry and I were shooting the breeze in the cafeteria, and I said, hey, let's actually do something.
So I went to look for a drama teacher.
But she'd been laid off due to budget cuts. Fortunately, I directed a pantomime when I was at university, so I knew the ropes, as it were.
Right, yes, but you're the maths teacher, aren't you?
Yes, that's me, Jeff Algebra, maths teacher.
Maths is really important.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Maths is really important.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
As is theatre. It's one of the oldest art forms in history. Aristotle
I
believed.
just think that when we travel around all these problem schools and the poor kids see us, they say, hey, I really want to be like those attractive kids. And that's a very beautiful and powerful thing. We touch our audiences and they touch us right back.
I suppose with a surname like Algebra, there was really only one choice of career for me. My wife, Angela, and I, we often laugh about it.
Angela Algebra.
Yes.
We just want to bring a bit of song and joy into people's lives.
And teach people about the difficult issues. The issues in the play are what really matter.
Ini
And
cowok
I
yang
think
terakhir
you're
ini
going to be
kasihan
showing
banget
us an
ini kayak
extract
sapu
from
gitu
this
depan
play,
TV.
aren't you?
That's right. Put into context,
Yang lainnya pada
I
sosok
play
cari
a
muka
young
semua
thirsty
bangsat.
who's having some troubles at school.
Her character doesn't actually have a name, yeah, because in a way she's like all of us.
It's like a metaphor. Maybe she's you at home, or like maybe she's you, Megan.
Maths is really important.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Put it in, coach.
Yes, thanks, Steve.
Right, well, I'm going to have a little chat with your teacher while you run off and get ready. I can't wait to see it. That's it, that way. So, Jeff, when did you first hear about grants?
2 days ago. A letter from Advance arrived at the school. Now, the headmaster thought it was all a prank, but his secretary retrieved it from his bin and brought it to me.
Wow, how did you react?
I also threw it in the bin. But then, Harriet and Trey rescued it, and they rang the number at the bottom of the page, and next thing you know, we're on tour.
Wow. Well, I think we can all guess which way you'll be voting from now on.
Do you know what? It's funny, because Angela and I don't usually vote. We're not very political. I'm a mathematician, of course, and she's a paraplegic, mainly. But we did used to watch that Peter Clements DIY show back in the day, and so we thought, why not? Let's have a go with this whole democracy thing.
Okay.
And here we valley well are.
Good stuff.
Fucking brilliant!
So, let's have a look at a short section of Hey, Friendship.
Dear Diary, I'm not sure I can take another day at this school. Another day of tears. Another day of fears. But still I walk the corridors alone. dreading what might be around every corner.
What's around the corner? What's around the corner? What's around the corner?
Oh, hi, Gary.
Oh, heavens no! It's Gary the Fist!
Gary the Fist!
Going somewhere, little first year?
Great! I've been looking for some poor victim to bully all morning. But will this make me feel better about my violent father?
Excuse me, I'm late for maths. It's my favourite subject. It's so important.
Maths is for losers. What? Maths is for losers.
My arm's stuck, Coach.
Just keep going, for fuck's sake.
Right, maths is for losers. Now, give me your lunch money.
Double lunch for me today, but why am I only truly happy when I'm eating?
Not today, Gary the Fist.
What do you mean not today? Who are you? My arm's free, Coach.
Brilliant, keep going.
Right, who are you to stand up to me? I'm Gary the Fist, and you're just a sad little girl with 2 gay dads who's all alone.
That's where you're wrong, Gary the Fist. These are my 2 new friends. Vanessa is captain of the netball team. Yeah. And Blake owns a motorbike.
Yeah.
But I can't fight all 3 of you, and I don't have any friends of my own.
Set.
Take a look at me.
Deh.
Take a little look at my face. I could be you. She could be you. And you could be me.
Or you could be me.
Life can be peachy keen if you work as a team.
Copyright ganti lagu di bangsat.
It's my choice to be mean. So stop now, make a different choice.
Jago banget gua main game ini sekarang, coy.
Hey, listen up, I won't take no crap. Who said middle class girls can't rap? I ain't afraid of no raps. I'm a mother-loving rebel, but I still love maths.
Pas banget, coy ya. Salah.
Hey, kids, I'm Gary the Fist. People think that folks like me probably shouldn't exist, but that's just prejudice, and I'd do better if you knew the way that I became Gary the Fist. I grew up on a council estate. The park was hip, but the flats weren't great. My dad used to come home drunk and late, and he'd hit my mum for dinner, he had to wait. Where's my dinner?
It's not ready.
Where's my dinner, woman? Don't make me ask you again.
Hitting women is wrong.
I guess life's pretty hard on a council estate. Life's pretty hard on a council estate. Life's pretty hard on a council estate. Life's pretty hard on a council
Kaki ya, salah.
Life's pretty hard on a council estate. Life's pretty hard on a council
Salah, coy.
estate.
Mana ya? Aduh, ini dia.
Hard on a council estate.
Nah, ini nih.
It's so damn hard on a council estate.
Life can be peachy keen.
Yeah.
If you work as a team.
Just work as a team.
It's your choice to be me.
It's my choice.
So stop now, make a different choice.
Listen to that inner voice.
Friendship!
Well, thankfully that's all we have time for tonight on the National Nightly News. Join us tomorrow night for all the headlines from across the country. My name's Jeremy Donaldson. Have a peaceful night.
And we're out.
What the literal
Aduh, susah coy main game coy, anjing, parah.
I believe I've got a 14-inch cock, but it doesn't make it so.
I have a similar belief about an adequate paycheck.
Oh, someone please get these twats out of my studio.
Ah, dek anjing ah, bangsat lah. Dek anjing. Suka lah. Not bad censoring, too much interference. Editing was just terrible. Anjing. Aduh.
Hello, mate. I see they've got the store back. That's great. I love fucking shopping. Sorry. Bit of a big night, to be honest. Anyway, over here, that's how much money you've got. You'll get more money the better the broadcast you do. These tabs take you to the bits and pieces and sections of the store. You can fix stuff, you can upgrade stuff, or you can just buy really cool stuff to put around the studio. Right, mate, and the final thing you've got to know, if you want to buy something, you just click on it and go ka-ching, but there's no refunds. No refunds, so take care, make sensible decisions. Don't be like that.
I'm Megan Wolf. Wolf. I'm Megan.
Anjing, dek. Aduh. Susah banget coy ini game. Gue kayaknya mesti pelan-pelan deh, agak susah dia game. Late night. Makasih ya nonton 7 orang nih, lumayan nih nonton 7 orang.
Der Vogelfänger bin ich da, stets lustig, heißer Hauptsasa. Vogelfänger bin bekannt, bei Alt und Jung im ganzen Land. Weiß mit dem Locken umzugehen und nie das Pfeifen zu verstehen.
Agak susah ya ini ya. Aduh, anjing kok maju banget. You always be my day one. Maju cepet banget ya. Habis itu kita nggak broadcast lagi. A Tight Christmas. Mentos. Frown itu apa frown? Lawannya lah ya. Happy holiday. Happy holiday. Ini kita nggak jadi ini lagi. Cepet banget, free ticket anjing. Gila, cepet banget. 140 hari. 50 hari. Kita ngapain coy? Oke. The time pass. Gini.
Good evening, Alex. It's Bozeman here, your boss. While you're powering up and getting the adverts loaded, I thought I should just tell you that we've had one of those public information films from the government, and it's mandatory that you play it. You still have a free choice for the other two, so read those tape labels carefully, but make sure you play the advance advert, preferably at the second break. Right, that's the lot. Have a great show. Hip. My God, that mother looks nasty.
Oke guys, bentar ya.
Over you.
I don't know why I talk to you.
It probably is really different day.
10 seconds, everybody. Like I said,
Let's go.
all of you.
Did your personality accidentally slip out?
Pricks. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening. I'm Jeremy Donaldson.
And I'm Megan Wolfe. Our main stories tonight.
Uncooperative. A mysterious symbol has appeared overnight on thousands of buildings throughout the capital.
Tonight, in an exclusive live interview with Prime Ministers Julia Salisbury and Peter Clement, I'll be asking what this mysterious symbol might mean.
Critics have been quick to dismiss the graffiti as a publicity stunt, or an act of frustration by a tiny, disorganised group of those who will never, under any circumstances, be content.
We shall overcome. Trapped in Dante's taint for more than a month now, doctors Ingrid Svorsborg Horgensvoord and David Wong announced today that they're considering two possible options.
With two of the finest minds in science working together, hopes are still high for the eventual return of the team to dry land.
Without enough engineers to successfully fix their craft, the team seem likely to attempt to farm the cavern's ecosystem while they wait for rescue from above ground. I think I'll stick to risotto, Jeremy.
Bearing their opinions, the formerly rich are fighting back with a naked protest.
Our very own Robin Short was on hand earlier today when this new protest group first presented themselves.
It might seem amusing to us, but clearly this formerly overprivileged section of our society is not adjusting well to the new future. It's often too easy to forget that not every citizen is thriving under advance.
Table for two. Johnny Hansleaves and Tiffany Lamour were spotted having a private moment after lunch today.
The popular couple have certainly been on a roller coaster since they started dating late last year, and this image is sure to place them
Apa ya?
firmly back in the
Ikut gue ya?
tabloids.
Could we be
Kayaknya
on the
itu.
verge of the biggest celebrity wedding since professional wrestler Randy Grizzlenuts McFridge married his longtime tag team partner
gue pernah
Timmy
nonton
Tiny Hands
ini.
last year in a wrestling ring made entirely of cake?
Is this one celebrity role model about to become the bad boy of sport?
And onwards and upwards. In an attempt to put the Mr. Snugglehugs disaster behind them, Remington's Fist CEO Sophia Remington today announced a brand new product
Oh, Assassin's
that
Creed.
already has the
Gue udah tahu
markets
tadi pas di
buzzing with
kuliah.
interest.
This groundbreaking
Error kan cuma
came as quite a shock when
28
it was
jam.
revealed earlier today, though its critics are skeptical that the young CEO can fulfill her promises.
Described as a breakthrough far ahead of its time, the male contraceptive pill is heralding a sexual revolution. Its fans are celebrating the fact that men can finally take equal responsibility for contraception, but others have expressed concerns over its safety and side effects.
With that exclusive Prime Ministerial interview coming up later,
And our very own Patrick Bannon coming to you live from the first annual Sports Board final.
you won't want to miss a second of tonight's National Nightly News.
First tonight, after the Christmas horror caused by Mr. Snugglehugs, we have an exclusive interview with one of the victims.
Poor 7-year-old Timmy Tadlock, like so many of those affected by the Christmas bloodbath, has spent the last 3 months undergoing a series of reconstructive facial surgeries.
Last week, joyfully, he spoke for the first time since the tragedy. Tonight, he talks to us.
Before we go to the interview, however, this station would like to issue a full and frank apology for any part we may have played in the tragedy. We should never have advertised Mr. Snugglehugs. Without our publicity, the sheer scale of this tragedy, and now upwards of 8,000 casualties, might have been averted.
On behalf of the Nightly News team, we're sorry.
In future, we will do better.
Now it's over to Robin Short at the Tadlock family home. Robin?
Thank you, Megan. I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Tadlock and their 7-year-old son, Timothy. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Yes, well, you're bloody lucky it wasn't any time with you at all. After what you lot did. Irresponsible. I mean, whose idea was this anyway?
It's all right. It wasn't your fault. As you can see, Megan, there's still a few open wounds here. I'll tread carefully. I'm going to speak to Timmy now. Hello, Timmy. Can you see me?
Mummy, who's that lady?
It's the lady from television, Timothy. She's going to ask you a few questions.
You be careful now, it upsets you to remember.
Don't worry, Mr. Tadlock. I wasn't the youngest ever editor of the Swinstead Middle School Inquirer for no reason. So, Timmy, can you tell us what happened to you? You had just unwrapped Mr. Snugglehugs, hadn't you? Was he under the tree?
Yes, I could smell him already. He smelled like love.
Ah, yes, that'll be the fur. It's scented with hoof.
I was so excited. I ran up to my room and gave him a big hug. He was so soft and warm, like our cat, before he got in the way of Daddy's Porsche.
And what did Mr. Snugglehugs say to you?
He blinked his real action eyes and said, "You're my very best friend." But I sure wish Mrs. Snugglehugs was here. She can't be for just $89.99. And then it's a general error. 41!
And is that when he burst into flames? And then he exploded.
Oh, look, I've asked you nicely.
And am I right in saying that one of his real action eyes is now permanently embedded in your cheek?
Yes. When I took him in at night, it glows through bandages. I know it's under there.
Staring at me.
Yeah, some of the other children have started calling him Timmy Three Eyes. And with his glasses, that's 5.
It's too many eyes, Robin.
And what's the last thing you remember before the darkness overtook
Makin
you?
kuping buntu juga.
He looked at
Gede
me
lagi kota
with
itu.
his one eye.
Saya gue turunin dulu suara scroll gede.
Laughed as he burned.
It sounds very traumatic.
Yeah,
Do you have nightmares?
All right, that's quite
you,
enough of
Timmy?
you two coming in here with your camera, trying to make a buck out of our suffering. I won't have it.
Mr. Tadlock, just a couple more questions. Timmy, do you think you will ever be what we can call
No, you've had your
normal
questions,
again?
and now you. Oh, you've made him cry with all three of his eyes.
Do you think your parents will ever really love you again?
Right, that's it. Enough. Come on,
I'm happy, Mr. Tadlock. So there you have it, Megan. Just one of the many victims of an indescribable tragedy that has shaken our nation. Back to you.
Thank you, Robin. Harrowing stuff.
And many questions to be answered by Sophia Rimington in the coming days and months, I'd wager. How will she turn this crisis around?
So, Jeremy, what are the warning signs consumers should look out for when they're spotting a dangerous toy?
Well, Megan, experts advise to always check for the new advanced mark, which guarantee a level of safety and quality.
Yeah, can we just get a close-up on camera 3 here? So if we take a look, National Nightly News mug, you should see the mark just on the basis there.
In the wake of the scandal, the government were praised for their swift response in bringing in this set of stringent checks on new products.
It certainly is good to know that someone's watching out for our fangers. When we come back, our very own Patrick Bannon will be live from the Sports Board Finals. Stick around, you won't want to miss it.
We'll be back after these messages.
1 minute back.
Oh, sorry, I'm bursting.
She's very good.
Wait. Anjing! Aduh, gue bego banget dah. Thank you lo bangsat.
Oh, main apa nih?
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main stories tonight.
Oke guys, ntar besok kita main lagi ya. Kayaknya jam 12 lah. Jam 2 jadi kita main lagi ya. Main lagi. Agak susah emang. Tapi ntar kita main lagi ya. Udah, thank you guys yang nonton. Jangan lupa subscribe dan share ya. Dan like ya. Oke guys.